Hi there, it's Kareem from Keeper's Nursery. Today's the 9th of May 2024. I'm in my sort of lean-to glass house thing next to the barn, amongst all the seedlings. So I've got about 600 apple seedlings here. These are all openly pollinated. Well, not all of them actually, but most of them are openly pollinated apple seeds that I collected in the autumn of 2023. And I stratified them over the winter and started germinating them in basically February time, and I was doing that in a sort of heated artificial environment with a sort of artificial grow light. That got them going nice and early, so that I would effectively have quite large seedlings that I could chip bud from in August time. So that right now it's early May, as I said, the 9th of May. That gives me the whole of May, June, and July. So I've got at least sort of 3 months to play with here until chip budding time. And as you can see behind me, there are some great examples of the seedlings. These are growing magnificently this year. I do water them. They're all in individual, I think these are 3 litre pots. Quite big. It was quite a lot of effort actually to pot these on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that next year once I've got even more children. But yeah, it's probably worth it because as you can see, they're massive. Some of them, one of the ones over there is at least, well, it's probably 40 centimeters high. It might even be half a meter. They are doing very, very well. It has been very warm recently, so today was over 20 degrees, and in here I imagine it was, Sahara Desert, it was probably about sort of 50, well, maybe not quite 50, but they will put on lots of growth at this time. They're not really showing too many signs of stress either, which is good. So nice strong vertical growth. After I initially planted these, not in trays, but they were actually planted sort of five or so in individual pots. So once those started to germinate and grow, I could then sort of, and the reason I put them into small pots was because basically I was growing them in a sort of warm environment, and I was also growing them under a light, so I didn't have loads of space. I didn't want to grow them out here because in sort of February time, mice will come and devour as many seeds as they can, and they will easily, and they have done to my seedlings in the past. They will go through all the seeds that they can by morning time, and you don't even notice that everything's gone. In here, I only had, so when I planted these out in, I think March, I haven't checked my videos, but it would have been sort of late March, I assume. By then, there were a few mouse attacks. I'd say about 2 or 3 mouse attacks. I also caught about sort of 6 mice. So I know mice were around here, but once the seedlings have actually germinated and they sort of get going, and that's when I sort of planted them on. And it did take several days to do that. Mice kind of aren't that interested, and now that they are growing here, squirrels have come in. I've shot everything down, but squirrels come in because they basically at this time of the year they think, oh, there's not a lot of food. Hang on, there's some pots here. I probably, buried a conker in here, or I buried some acorns in here. So they actually started pulling out some of the seedlings, which was annoying. Some of those I managed to sort of get going again because it wasn't too warm then. But no, not many losses yet. A few didn't survive the transplantation. It's probably my fault for not taking enough time, but I was doing hundreds of these, and there are probably almost 600 seedlings in here now, all growing well. So the goal is to have wood that is thick enough to chip bud this summer. I could wait until the following spring, so that would be sort of March 2025, and actually just do a graft, do a whip and tongue from the top. I'm not as big of a fan of doing whip and tongue grafting. I know that from what I learned from Amanda at East Malling Research Station, which is only a few minutes down the road from where we are, she advised that basically you want to reach to about seven. You want to reach about 70 nodes in the first year if you can, and then just basically um, graft the very top of the tree because that's the sort of least juvenile section of the tree. Um, what I learned from that is basically you are trying to like minimize the juvenile stage by growing as much as you can in the first year. Well, in the first few years, ideally get some fruit by about sort of year three. Um, I'm going to probably stick to chip budding. I've already planted out my rootstocks. But the thing is, if I can get these trees large enough, rather than what I used to do, was where I would basically, if you have the tree here, the seedling here, you can see the wood at the bottom of the tree, that's already almost thick enough. I could chip bud that now on rootstock that was sort of double, maybe double the girth, maybe triple the girth, and I'd be fairly confident that would grow. But based on what she's saying, I want to go near the top. Now I want the I'm going to basically go as high as I can where the wood where the wood is actually this thick, and so I want to produce large trees. Now this is a good example. This specimen here is much weedier, so we're basically gonna have to see how it's progressing. But I'm this is early days, and I think as long as I water these, which I will do in a sec, although I'll probably go in the house and check on the family. It's about sort of 8 o'clock, just to let everyone know. I will hopefully have enough time between now and August, as I said, about a good 3 months' time, where these will keep growing. So last year I did some seedlings in here. It didn't look after them particularly well, and they had reached at least 50 centimeters each. The plum ones were about a meter. Now, based on that, if I really look after these, and I started these much earlier, the idea of starting them early in February, which was slightly costly, I was heating them and I was using a strong grow light to sort of artificially get these things growing. The idea is that if I can get these things to be massive by August, I'm going to have less juvenile seedlings at that stage, which I then ship bud onto my rootstock. And right now in the nursery, I can't be bothered to go out there and show you right now, but the seedlings are actually growing that were chip budded last year, but those are only sort of, there are a few leaves on each of them at this stage. Basically, they're M9 rootstocks. M9s don't particularly put out many rootstock growth, so you don't get many suckers at this stage. Most apples don't really bother anyway. Sort of quinces and plums will chuck out, and cherries will put out loads of rootstocks. But the apples look kind of bare. They are starting to grow, but at most they're sort of this big. That's the bud at the tip that's growing. That by the end of the year will be about sort of hopefully 4 or 5 foot tall, and that's pretty good going for an M9 rootstock. So these will be much bigger at this stage, but as in these seedlings. But yeah, I want to if I can reach sort of 4 or 5 foot for all of these, that would be amazing. Seeing what Amanda did at East Malling Research after 1 year, where they effectively grow these out in polytunnels. They're grown in big tubs where you've got sort of, I don't know, 100 or so seedlings in a massive tub, where all the sort of nutrients and the water is very well regulated. Those things were a good sort of 2 meters tall, I would say. That in feet is a good sort of 7 feet high. So that would be amazing if I could do that. I don't think the actual ceiling in here would handle that. Also, it's just going to be a lot of effort watering these, but I will persevere. I'm not going to let these sort of, I'm going to do this quite seriously this year. Next year's seedlings are actually sort of hand pollinated. I've been busy hand pollinating. I've basically, well, I stopped about a week ago when the last sort of good bit of weather came out, because right now there aren't too many flowers around anymore. I've actually taken the bags off the pollinated flowers, because all the basically the flowers have basically finished, and I do not expect anything to get involved and pollinate them. I've actually used the bags on some cherries because I'm hoping to keep the fruit fly off them, and also stop the birds from eating them. I don't know, but I'm just basically recycling the bags, and I thought it was a good time to do that. It does seem that quite a lot of the hand pollinations have worked, because the fruitlets are actually developing. Lots of them haven't, but at the same stage in that bag there were probably, let's say, I don't know, 20-30 flowers. I didn't pollinate 20-30 flowers. I probably only pollinated sort of 10 at most, And losing some flowers at this stage is actually probably showing me that the ones that weren't hand pollinated have actually failed to be pollinated, which is a good thing. That means that there aren't any pollinators in there in comparison to the flowers and the rest of the fruitlets on the rest of the tree, where lots and lots of the fruitlets are actually okay and they are developing. Those will drop in the June drop. That's where the tree basically prunes itself, because it thinks, well, it doesn't, it thins its fruit, as they say, because it's basically thought, hang on, that was quite a successful pollination that I just had, pollination month that we've just had. I don't want this many apples hanging off my branches, because that's going to be bad. So it basically just kills off loads of the, it sort of aborts a lot of its fruit, to stop itself from either its branches breaking or just exhausting itself. No, so everything's going well. Hopefully, if you're doing any pollination and seedling growing, that's going well. Hopefully, it's a good year. We've had outside, these guys don't know about it, outside it is nice and wet, but it's also very hot, so things are going to grow massive. And I mean massive in the next week. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. You're going to have to cut grass at least sort of twice a week at this time of the year. But also the trees are growing very well, and the weeds luckily aren't. I'm on top of all that, so I just hope it continues like this. I hope we don't get cold weather or another drought or anything, but you never know what's going to happen. Thank you very, very much for watching, and good luck, everyone. Bye.